Our conversation is about the student loan. Is it an economically viable option for us in Nigeria? Are we ready for it exactly? But in case you don't know, a brief background on student loans. The Nigerian government, through the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, Fund, has introduced interest-free student loans to support access to tertiary education. And as of April 2025, over 54.2 billion naira has been disbursed to more than 445,000 students, marking a significant public investment in education. This report examines both the economic impact and viability of the student loan scheme as a long-term policy tool. But just sometime last week, we see that the ICPC is saying no. Out of the 100 billion naira that has been given out by the government, only about 21 point something billion naira has reached the people. What happened? Rather, 29 point something billion naira has reached the people. What's happened to this 71 billion naira? Joining me today to converse and discuss on the issue is Faiz Muhammad, a policy and economic analyst. Thank you, Faiz, for joining us virtually from Kano State. Good morning, Faiz. Can you hear us?
Yes, good morning, Chiamaka. Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, thank you for joining us and thank you for staying through with us. Now, what's your general take as our topic for the day is student loans? Is it an economically viable option for Nigeria? What's your take?
So historically, investments in human capital have been pivotal for economic growth. And any country that prioritizes education often experiences enhanced productivity and innovation. Here in Nigeria, considering our youthful population, investing in education could yield substantial long-term benefits. But we are currently in a situation that is characterized by significant challenges, including high debt servicing, fluctuating revenues, and even the size of our population places immense pressure on our public services. So in this context, the introduction of a student loan scheme presents both an opportunity and a potential strain. I think the sustainability of such a program hinges on several factors. Economic growth, for example. For students to repay loans, there must be sufficient employment opportunities.
Okay.
And Nigeria's employment rate, especially among youth, remains high, which poses a risk to this sort of loan recovery. It's important that we have an effective management of the loan scheme. It's very crucial. Past initiatives such as this have existed, and they've suffered from mismanagement and corruption, which leads to two issues, really, both financial losses and a fall in public trust. So I think a combination of fiscal discipline and prioritization would make this a successful program. But once again, it really depends on the manner in which the student loan scheme is implemented.
All right. Now, you talked about the importance and the benefits of student loans, but we see that the Nigerian student loan is interest-free. Also, if we're going to be honest, the country in itself has some sort of reputation of not being able to collect back loans. So how do we see this working out? How are we going to get back the loans? And apart from the human capital development that's going to take place, are we going to make any money from this?
No, you see, so the point of these loans is not really the financial benefit that the government is going to accrue from them.
Okay.
Is the human capital gain that we are hoping to access within the near future.
Okay.
If you are able to create a situation whereby anywhere between just 200,000 or 300,000 graduates can become, world-class graduates, can gain skills that are exportable on an international level, you would have changed the direction of an entire generation.
Okay.
And so the return on investment is really the educational attainment that can be had from these students. It's not the loans themselves.
Okay.
As long as the government is able to recover the loans, even if they're interest-free, I don't think there should be too much of a problem. With regards the recovery of the loans in particular, our current financial structure has developed to the point where we are much easier. It is much easier for financial institutions, particularly the government, to be able to track financial activity, particularly if they're using um, national identity
Numbers.
measures, such as the NIN or the BVN. So I don't think it'll be particularly difficult. Assuming, of course, job opportunities exist for these students once they graduate, to be able to pay back that loans in a sufficient amount of time.
Okay, so now, what will be the consequences, of economic consequences of underfunding? Now, it's a great idea, really, the student loans. But before we get to that question, I have one pertinent question. Would it be more economically viable for us to have these student loans, especially for certain courses, certain studies, not just I'm going to go and read. I'm not saying that some courses are not, but at times I feel like some courses need to just be like maybe phased out. Would it be possible that this loan is maybe geared towards certain courses, educational courses, maybe medicine, maybe tech, maybe STEM, would that equally help with the impact? Because yes, we want everybody to get educated, but if you're going just to go and read anatomy for the sake of going to school, and I'm not saying anatomy is a bad course, but you're not intending to go into anatomy to find out about the body and how you could help, with biology and all that, then what's the point really? Faiz, are you there? All right, so it seems due to the technical problems, maybe internet usage, as our story said earlier, we've not been able to have him answer that question. But it's a very, very, very important question, actually. And, what do you think? What do you think about the funds? Should the loans be open to everybody that just wants to read any course they like, whether it's going to have an impact on the economy or not? Faiz, can you hear me?
Right. So, yes, I can hear you clearly.
Did you hear my question before?
So I do imagine that during the loan.
All right, so it seems like we're having a bit of a network challenge there, but again, a very important conversation that we should have about it. Nobody's saying that you reading a certain course is not ideal. It is ideal. However, how does it impact the broader economy? How will it help us in a developing economy? Are there certain courses that we need to push to help us get to where the first world countries are? So that's a very, very important conversation that we should have. Now, in case you're still wondering about the loan, the NEL fund loan, the education loan, the student loan in Nigeria, it was launched to reduce financial barriers to education, particularly for students from low income backgrounds. Funds disbursed so far include 30.17 billion naira for tuition and institutional fees and 24.04 billion naira for student upkeep. So it's not just paying school fees, it's equally there to help maintain the student while they're in school. Now we hear some of these people that live in some of these countries, especially the America, student loans is such a big deal. You see people who work tirelessly for the rest of their lives trying to pay off the student loans that they incurred because they had to get to college education. Now, over 525,000 students have registered for the scheme. The core objectives are to increase access to higher education with a skilled labor force. Again, back to the kind of courses that we're teaching these people and stimulate broader economic activity. Now, what are the challenges and risks of this loan, this student loan, mismanagement and corruption allegation? And we're already seeing it. It's happening. ICPC saying what's going on. 100 billion has been disbursed by the federal government. How come only 28.8 billion naira out of the money allocated has reached students? Now, it's raising concerns about fund misappropriation. However, NEL Fund has come to say that's not the case. The monies are being disbursed. Things have been done. Now, slow processing, often due to institutions failing to verify student data, has led to delays and in some cases wrongful payments to ineligible students. Again, everybody has to work together to see that this works. So, of course, who's in charge in school to verify data? Who's supposed to do this? The background check, the vetting, the verification. How does this work that this gets to the right people? and all that. It's good to have you back, Faiz Muhammad. Thank you for joining us again. You can go
Yes,
ahead.
thank you for having me. My apologies for the network issues. So, like I was saying earlier, I believe that there has to be an evaluation process
Okay.
that determines not just whether or not these students will be able to repay their loans, but also whether or not the subjects that they are going to take the loans against are useful for Nigeria's future. For instance, it would be far more profitable, that is, in future terms, to have students who are artificial intelligence engineers or who are conversant with sustainable practices for environmental protection, rather than focus on training more sociologists or training more historians, none of which is to say that social sciences or any of the sciences really, or any subject really, is less important, but just that we need to be able to prioritize those subject matters that would be useful for Nigeria's future. I would imagine that the loan scheme already has this sort of evaluation process in place.
All right. Now, how could we, education is a very big thing for us in this country, as we say, and we keep on saying it gets underfunded. But there are other equal, critical sectors we have right now. Food is a major issue. The insecurity is something else, and people can't even afford to eat a proper meal, let alone a 3-square meal. So how can we balance this student loan financing with other critical sectors that need attention in the country?
Well, I think balancing loan financing with other sectors requires us to have a strategic financial planning in place. First of all, we have to prioritize which funds to allocate based on a sector's potential impact on economic growth, and that will guide, the investment decisions. Public-private partnerships need to be a pivotal aspect of this sort of thinking, because we need to fund education in such a way that it can alleviate the financial burden on the government. Reducing waste by existing programs can free up resources for other education financing. Um, this government has already keyed into the fact that there are issues that need to be addressed with regards efficiency within the government. That, I believe, was the reason that they decided that they wanted to reinstate the Oransaya report some time ago. There has been delay in that being implemented, but it would really save a lot of money in terms of governance, which could then be put into more integral sectors. Now, I also think that it's important to have an incremental implementation plan. Phasing the loan scheme's rollout can allow for adjustment based on available resources. When it was announced, it had not been realized as a key factor within this administration's priorities. And so it did not fully feature within the national budget. Even if it did, the truth of the matter is that current financial realities require that the budget be adapted to really dovetail with Nigeria's fiscal realities. So I think with these approaches, we can support student loans while maintaining commitments to other essential sectors.
All right. So now, you said something earlier about, hoping that we talked about the kind of courses. So that means that the Ministry of Education will have to sit down with stakeholders and now go through our courses and implement new courses that universities will teach. But away from that, now, how do you think that these forms, this student loan forms, will actually impact? Because we need to look at it. We need to have tangible results of, okay, we've given people loans. How will it impact our unemployability? We need for these numbers to reduce, this unemployability rate we have in the country. How do we think that this would impact it?
So human capital development is a cornerstone of economic advancement. Student loans facilitate access to higher education for individuals who might otherwise be unable to attain it. And the proper administration of these loans can lead to several benefits. the chief among them being increased productivity. Educated workers are often more efficient and can adapt to new technologies and process more information more readily. You will also find that there is a link between higher education and levels of entrepreneurship within a developing economy. So higher education basically equips individuals with the skills needed to start and manage businesses, fostering job creation in the long term. And then also you look at it from an innovation standpoint. A more educated populace can contribute to research and development, leading to new products and services. Empirical studies have shown a positive correlation between higher education levels and economic growth. And so for Nigeria, leveraging student loans to boost capital can be a strategic move to stimulate economic development. Done properly, this is something that can lead to a much more robust economy, higher human capital development indexes.
Okay.
It can lead to a situation whereby, because there are more startups and more SMEs
Okay.
that are coming about via entrepreneurship, it means that there are more jobs being created,
Okay.
both in the formal and informal sectors.
Okay.
And this brings down job creation significantly.
Okay.
It brings down unemployment significantly and leads to higher job creation figures.
Okay.
So it's a long-term strategic initiative
Okay.
that is really a cornerstone of human capital development and something
Okay.
that we need to take
All
very
right.
seriously.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Faiz, for joining us on Business Daily today. Time won't permit us to continue the conversation. We need to wrap it up at this time. It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you for joining us on Business Daily this morning.
Thank you for having me.
And that was Faiz Muhammad, public and economic policy analyst. We're talking about the student loan. Is it viable, economically viable for Nigeria? And he's given us some points of view. And basically what we've come together to understand is it's not just about the loans. Some people need to sit down and have conversations and come together to say, we need to do this and do that to help this loan produce results that would help the Nigerian economy. And of course, it equally goes to show that school is not a scam. Thank you so much for joining us today on Business Daily. Same time, same place tomorrow. My name is Chiamaka Nwafor. Bye for now.